Today we have three alums of our program, past participants, and we'll start here.
So I'm Megan Wolfgram. I am actually from the Melbourne, Florida area, and this is my 10th anniversary year. So I was on the program in 2008, 2009, not to date myself, but too late. And so I'll pass it over.
Yeah, my name is Gingerly Lovelady. I'm originally from Tallahassee, Florida. I was an alum for 2015, 2016. I lived in Berlin, and yeah.
My name is Austin Perkins, also 2015, 2016, currently in Jacksonville, but I was living in Nuremberg during my time in Germany. All right, so let's talk about the time frame, the timeline. So first things first, you're going to be in D.C. for 3 days as part of the pre-departure orientation. Here you'll be debriefed on what you can expect to find in Germany and how you're going to be the best ambassador for the United States. Now, these 3 days go by really quick because, of course, you're ready to get to Germany and start your new life. When you do get to Germany, you'll be in Bonn. Bonn is a beautiful city next to the Rhine River. It happens to be the former capital of Germany. And while you're in Bonn, you'll be staying with a host family as well as going to 2 months of intensive language school. Now, will you be alone here? Of course not, because you're going to be with 24 of the other participants, and you guys will travel as a cohort, and you'll all be going to school together, and so you'll be seeing these other students all throughout the week. Now, the language school, to supplement the enriching experience of being in Germany, it's not just courses throughout the day where you're learning German. You're actually going to be going out and going to museums in the city and going on different excursions to see castles, and you really get like a really good taste of Germany right off the bat. Bonn in itself is also a great city because it's kind of small and calmer, and so you don't have like the busy life of a big German city, and you can kind of appreciate and go through the culture at your own pace to start with. Now, also why you're going to be in Bonn, you're going to have a student mentor. This is someone from the program who's completed it in the past, who is now here to help your transition. They can help you out with what you need, where you need to go, like go out to the grocery store, or they're really an aid to kind of buffer that transition from being away from your parents and being in a new place and kind of just not knowing what you're doing. Okay, so after the 2 months in Bonn for the language training, you're going to get on a train and you're going to separate from the cohort of 25 and go to your respective locations for the rest of your 10 months. Then we break up like all over Germany in different regions. Mm-hmm. Now, you'll have a little bit of time before school starts to kind of get readjusted with your new host family that you'll have for 10 months, and then you will enroll in a German high school equivalent. And I say equivalent because they have a very different system there, and so high schools aren't the same like they are here. There's 3 to 4 different versions. You'll be in what they call gymnasium, or at least most students are, and that's kind of the upper level students who are geared towards going to university, like that's their path. Other students will maybe be in a vocational high school or a different level. Like I said, there's a lot of variation. Now, you're not going to be getting grades. You're not going to be getting credit for the classes. You are there because you're going to be trying to make friends that'll get you readjusted to the new town that you're living in, or the new city, to polish off your German a little bit and really learn about the German education system, which is very, very interesting. Now, this can range from anywhere from like 1 to 2 months, depending on what internships you're looking into or what really fits best for you. And I will let Gingerly bridge us over into...
Before I do that, where were you placed? Do you just want to let everybody know?
Oh, sorry, folks. I was in Nuremberg.
And where were you?
Style?
Nuremberg? I was in a gymnasium. Yeah. Uniquely, I decided to... So I actually went into some German class, because it's not just like a high school, so it's not 4 grades, it's the entire school is the gymnasium. So I actually, instead of sitting through like several hours of English courses there, I decided to supplement that time by going into like 5th grade German classes to learn German at the 5th grade level, which was way better suited for me at the time.
And where were you?
I spent the majority of my year in a town called Felbert, which is near Dusseldorf. I was only about hour to 2 away from the initial city of Bonn, but they do spread you out quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And I also went to a gymnasium. I spent a little bit shorter of a time there because I was able to segue into an internship experience relatively quickly. I think that is all on a case-by-case basis.
Mm-hmm. I was in Berlin. I was also at a gymnasium. I went to the gymnasium with my host brother. He was about my age, and so the gymnasium was walking distance from my house, and so I was there for about a month. It was a pretty cool experience. But yeah, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the internships. So you have an opportunity to participate in up to 3 internships. They're all around 2 months long. You're probably asking, why is this? Well, because there's a law stating in Germany that you can't be an unpaid intern for more than 2 months. So you're paid after that. Also want to say that it is not common, nor, please don't expect to be paid as an intern. That's why, you have the opportunity to move on. Another really cool thing about that being, a participant here is that you have the opportunity to maybe do one thing for the first internship, or, move on to do something completely different for the second internship, and then again for the third internship. So you can really get some really cool samples of different things that are available to you. My first internship was a 3D printing cafe. It was this really cool, unique approach to 3D printing. Everyone probably thinks in their head, 3D printing, oh my gosh, I can't do that. What does that entail? What do I even 3D print? It's a really kind of intimidating thing to do. And so I worked at a place that kind of took a casual approach to it. It was a cafe, so come in, buy a scone or have a coffee, but sit and watch our 3D printers. We have some computers set up that you can, you can have the opportunity to maybe sit and play with and make a keychain. That was the first thing that I did. I'm not kidding. It was the first thing that I did as an intern, was made a keychain. It's very easy. And so I was able to, have the opportunity to work in Berlin Fashion Week through that. We partnered with some artists in Berlin Fashion Week to making some necklaces. We 3D printed on some material that some of the models, wore. And so we also had kind of a booth set up to kind of promote our business as well. And so, that's just one example of something that you can be doing, for your internship. But then my second internship was completely different. I worked in a kindergarten, and that was such an amazing experience. I mentioned I was in Berlin, and so it's a very international city. It was very easy for me to find people that spoke English. I actually spoke English at my internship because the people that owned the company were from Britain. And so it was, an easy thing to find. And so I was really, wanting to focus on my German. And so I went to a German kindergarten, and let me tell you, they're one of the best teachers, the kindergartners. I was able to read books to the kids. I did arts and crafts because I'm a graphic designer. And so it was a really cool opportunity. I was still able to, incorporate my artistic abilities, but also still, get that German language component as well. And then my third internship, I ended up going back to the first internship, but I kind of did it in a loop, a kind of way. So we sold share-bought printers were the company, and that was an Italian company. So I technically worked for an Italian company that then contracted me out to, a German company. And it's kind of a little roundabout way to do it, but they loved me and they wanted me back. And so, I ended up doing that again. But so it's just just a way to show that you can work in the medical field. Vocational is definitely something big. So we had somebody that worked in woodworking. I mean, you name it, as long as you're open to an opportunity, it's really, truly available for you. And so I would just challenge you guys to really seek out those opportunities. I'm going to pass it on over to Megan, but first, does anybody have any questions about the host, the 2 months in Bonn or the internships before we move on? Yeah, go ahead.
In regards to the internship and the schooling,
Mm-hmm.
do you stay in the same region for both the schooling and
Yes.
the internships?
Mm-hmm.
So the 3 internships that you guys had were in the same. So you're with the same host family essentially for the duration.
Mm-hmm.
That's the intent.
Yeah.
That's the intent.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a good segue. I'll touch base on my internship briefly. So because I was on the program 10 years ago, that 2-month time limit wasn't in place. I wound up interning at the same facility for my entire stay, although I think it would have kind of been interesting to be able to have different experiences. It just wasn't something that was being pushed. I was very comfortable where I was, so it just didn't even occur to me that that was an option. But I interned with a rather large breeding, training, and sales dressage center for sport horses. I ride anyway, and I remember sitting in this room as an interviewee, and I had written business, and I wound up getting a degree in economics and business. I'm interested in this. And Sue flips open my resume, and she says, "You ride horses." And I go, oh yeah, Germans have the best horses. And I know now that her mind was churning like, And so I also encourage you to maybe look a little bit past your educational goals or maybe your career goals and into some of your passions. This is a vocational program, and when you think about the experience and opportunity to get hands-on with something that maybe you don't have a lot of experience in, finding out what you don't like to do is just as important as finding out what you do like to do or having a completely new experience. And Austin, do you want to mention your internship before I go into family?
Sure.
So you can imagine what he interned in.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Well, to start with, I actually also interned in a kindergarten, and they are the best teachers. They also bullied me a lot, exploiting my lack of German at the time. No, they're great kids, though. So my first internship, and obviously I have an interest in film, and so I found, with the help of my area rep, a local film production studio, and they actually received money from the state to create local broadcasts on like history and just local events going on in Nuremberg. And this was awesome because this got me plugged into the history and the community of Nuremberg, especially at a time when there's a large influx of refugees into larger cities in Germany. So not only did I get to learn about the history of Nuremberg, and of course it has like huge historical relevance with the Nuremberg trials, but I also got to see how this large change in Germany and kind of communicate with the population that was, a result of that change. So that was a great experience. And the second one is completely different. And so here's the thing about the second one is that it was just extremely circumstantial, and I'm pretty sure it was born of miscommunication to start with. I actually got a position at a building physics and engineering firm, so a German engineering firm, with other grad students. There were only other grad students there. And I was just some kid from high school who was like, I think engineering and environmental science is really cool. And so we had an interview in English at the time. But it was amazing. So I would just be at work at my desk, not knowing what I'm doing really, and they'd come and they'd slap down these binders of multi-million-dollar projects and be like, hey, I don't know how to do this. They're like, it's okay, just talk to some of the other grads. And so I ended up learning how to use a lot of really cool software. I ended up learning Calc 2 and 3 before I even took them in college. And it was just the experience of being like, oh my gosh, if I don't do this right, buildings are going to fall down. So I had a wonderful experience.
So where are you on that engineering goal?
So the stress really got to me in the end, I suppose. No, I decided that I really like engineering, but I don't necessarily want to do the jobs that engineers do. So I like the world thereof, right? But didn't necessarily stay with me the same way. Obviously very interpersonal, and so I'm choosing to work on the international business side of things, and I'd like to work with engineering in some capacity in the future.
So that's a really cool example of just doing something and realizing, crap, this is not what I want to do at all,
But learning from it in a way that you can still use it in whatever you do.
Yeah, and so definitely a good example for that one. So do we want to talk about host families now?
Yeah, so there are a few really large parts of this program that I believe make it unique to other programs, and one of the largest is that host family component. You will have 2 host families. I'm going to talk more about what we would consider 10-month-long, more permanent host family. When you first arrive to Germany, you will be with the other students as a group of 25, and you will all have more temporary host families for the initial 2 months in Bonn. You will know who those families are before leaving the States. You'll know where you're living, where you're going to be placed. Sometimes those families will take more than one student. That is incredibly atypical for the 10-month-long family. But in Bonn, those families are fairly well versed in that. Sometimes they host multiple students from the language school, ABI, which is the one in Bonn. Yeah. And so they know what they're doing. They've usually hosted before, and if not, ABI does a great job of getting them through what the process is, what it looks like. Oftentimes they may also speak English, maybe not in the 10-month host family. So with those initial host families are really nice, sort of gentle, easing you into that, and so is the entire first 2 months. You may not know who the permanent or 10-month-long host family is before you leave the States. and you may not know for the initial first handful of weeks when you're in Bonn as well. And don't worry, I think I probably found out maybe my third week there where I was going and what family I was living with. Some of you will. There are people who sort of have in mind who they're looking for already, maybe families that have already said, I would love a student, and they already have an idea. Some of you might be able to fit into one of those right away, and some of them really take the time, the area representatives will take the time to look over the entire pool of 25 students. They have in their mind what families they think they have, what internships they think they have, and who's going to best fit with them. Area rep will have between 1 and 5 students, so that area rep's entire area of concentration is making sure that the experience is the best for the family, the student, the interns. Your 10-month-long host family, they are not paid. This is an entirely volunteer. They're doing it because they want an American student in their home to have this experience with. Oftentimes they'll have children. That's a big bonus for them. Their kids get to experience that as well. Sometimes they don't. So there's a really wide range of families. A student on my year actually lived with a Turkish family. Mm-hmm. Now, they were fully German citizens. They also spoke German, and I believe they ran a dental office. So that was super cool for him. He got to see the workings of their family business as well. But what I'm saying is there is no stereotype, really. You're going to be spread out throughout the country and truly embrace sort of whatever comes your way. And don't panic if you don't know exactly where you're going in the beginning. So I'll just speak to my experience. I found out who my host family was. I'm an only child. My host family was mom, dad, brother, sister, 12-year-old girl, 13-year-old boy. So I was pretty excited. They had pets. I love animals. I was like, okay, this is going to be great. And when you leave Bonn, you all sort of board a train. Maybe some of you are together for a bit of the way. Maybe some of you are going to the same city. But that's really the first time that you're sort of on your own in Germany. And your families will arrange to pick you up. By the way, side note, this entire program is very well structured. Transportation is taken care of. You have assistance with everything small, from getting a cell phone and how you pay for that and arrange that to your travel and such. So no worries there. And I got on the train. I had purchased a bouquet of flowers for my host mom. Good idea, by the way. Bring some presents. Mm-hmm. And I show up on the platform. They're all standing there. They're adorable. They're so excited. They see my picture so they can recognize me. I pulled up pretty much right where they were standing. So then we saw each other through the window. And it was that moment like, there they are. And I had 2 months of language training. I had no previous German experience. So my German was rudimentary at best, but I was doing my best. And I get off the train and I'm super excited. Hi, how are you? It's so nice to meet you. And I handed them the flowers, and I said, I have, and I'm trying to speak in German. I have, and I'm thinking, what's the word? I have gifts. I have gifts for you. And then later I found out that gift directly translates into the word poison. And it's pronounced gift. So they still tease me about that. They come visit me and they say, Megan, we have gifts for you. Yeah. But needless to say, we hit it off. I have a few helpful points of advice. This is the family that you're going to be with for 10 months long. Make that connection. Get to know them. Ask questions. Try to be helpful. You're going to make so many mistakes, cultural mistakes, little mistakes that you don't know you're making, simply don't have any idea about. So don't make the mistakes you know are mistakes, right? Help to clean up for dinner. Ask where you can lend a hand. They love it when you try to share something with them. I remember I brought some pre-packaged just add water cookie dough mix. They were amazed. They were like, this is great. You're going to bake for us. Little stuff like that goes a long way. On the note of making mistakes, I got there. I was like, I'm going to be such a good host student or host child. They're not even going to have to clean up after me. So I marched myself downstairs. I told my host mom, will you teach me how to run the washing machine? One of my first days. And she said, okay. And my host family's English wasn't great, so we were kind of trying to work it out. She showed me how, and since then I did my own laundry. About 6 months in, I'm upstairs. She's downstairs in the living room. Brother and sister are in their rooms. It's in the evening. I get an email from my host mom. Like, wait a minute. she's just downstairs. And it's kind of a long email. I didn't even read. I got an email. And I opened it. And I'm like, whoa, okay, that's an email. And it's in German, translated in English. And long story short, it was sort of that mid-time. This was about 6 months in. It was about mid-time where you're familiar with each other. You're starting to get comfortable. And I don't think she was super comfortable to approach me in person. And it kind of came out in the wash that she said, and are you not happy with the way that I do laundry? You don't want to just let me do your laundry with everybody else, and why do you keep it in your room before you bring it down? And I just had that light bulb moment. They washed over me. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize that I was making that mistake. So I probably should have in the beginning said, how do you guys do your laundry? Can I be a part of that process? She really felt like I thought that she wasn't worthy of doing my laundry. And they're so sweet. You didn't want to be a burden to her. I didn't want to be a burden. Well, how do you figure that out when you don't really have a command of the language yet? And we worked it out. I cried. I cried. I wrote an email to my mom. And I sat there, it was late, so they're 6 hours ahead. And this is not the day of like FaceTiming and stuff. That wasn't happening. So I actually composed myself, and I knew she was downstairs sitting on the living room couch. And I walked downstairs, and I got my courage together because now I'm having to like approach her. And I think I just started off with, I'm so sorry. And it was really little stuff, but it's little stuff that makes a big difference. And I think that part of it was she expected me to be more forthcoming and helpful with the daughter and son in their English lessons. Anytime they asked, I was super helpful, but she almost expected me to take charge of that. Hey, what's your English homework? Let's practice English. And I was sort of waiting for them to approach me, stuff like that. Okay, moving on. So apart from that host family is going to become your family too. We do encourage the natural parents to make a connection with the host parents. This will be a lifelong connection. I've gone back to Germany multiple times. They've come to visit me. My younger host sister, I was 18 and she was 12 at the time, but we're so close now. I mean, we truly call each other sisters. We're planning to have a fairly long 1 to 2 month trip next spring. So we're just super well connected still. That said, let's talk a tiny bit about travel. So, Mom and Dad, can you go and visit that host family that your kid knows and that? So they've gotten into their family. Absolutely not in the first 2 months, please. While they're in Bonn, absolutely not when they're just settling into the family, please, and please not when they're coming into that holiday time. It's so special in Germany. Christmas, the Christmas markets. The families are going out and doing activities. You're just starting to dream in German around this time, most students. The best time, if you absolutely feel the need to travel and meet the family and go over there, there's a little bit of time towards the end of the year, which is sort of free time. There's 2 seminars where all of the students will sort of get back together in Berlin, sort of around the time of the second one. The internships are winding up and you have a little time to travel and explore. If you want to do that, that's the time to do it. And likewise, students, it is actually not allowed to come home. This is an immersion program. If we make the commitment to you and offer you the scholarship, we expect you to make the year-long commitment. Emergencies aside, and that is why Sue is here, that is why the program is here, we expect you to stay for the entire year. Such a great support system. If you're feeling uncomfortable, you have your area rep first, and then you have Sue's counterpart in Germany. And then you always have Sue here. And yes, connection is so easy and fast to come home, but we say reach out to your family first. Reach out there first, contact, connect, talk, and then go through the proper channels.
And she means the host family.
Host family.
Yeah. Not the
reach out to your
family.
host family.
Yeah.
And one other very important support system, the 24 other students.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they form quite a bond.
Because they're in the same boat as you. They may be experiencing something very similar.
What happened with the host family?
Yeah, so I have a story about that. My host family every year did a ski trip to Austria. That was something that they did, and I was so fortunate to participate in. but it was something that I expected for me to kind of help out with the funds. I needed to do the ski boots and the ski lift and everything like that, but you definitely will probably have that opportunity at some point in the year to travel with them, and that, is such a wonderful opportunity to bond with your family as well, and so just be aware of that might happen. So.
And there is the opportunity to do some traveling while you're there in the country around Europe. It's the European community. It's really easy and fairly inexpensive.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not a travel program. We're an immersion program. But the opportunities come up, and that's part of the reason we do say come with enough money. I mean, or have money available, that $5,500 we're saying this year. So for your own personal spending money. Host families provide the room and board. The program provides for transportation to and from school, internships, all of the seminars, uniforms even, if there's special uniforms at work. But to go out and do the things you want to do with your friends, we want you to really know the culture, learn the culture by being involved in it. So you need that spending money, but quite a bit of that would also be for independent travel, safe travel. Remember, I mentioned that safety net. Approved travel. There are some places that we might get
probably
to
not Russia.
forget it. Not right now.
Yeah.
It was a popular place a few years ago for the students to go. Maybe not now. So we watch the watches and the alerts, and so may not be approved. But in most cases, if you want to hop over to Paris for the weekend with a friend, another student,
It sounds horrible.
that can be done.
Does anybody have any questions about any of the things that we've spoke about? Yeah.
Just regarding the language and learning German, I personally don't know any German, and I know you said that you didn't know any going into it, so I was wondering if you recommend going the Rosetta Stone route or a certain...
Yeah.
There's so many apps and programs
Duolingo,
now.
I think, is another one.
Duolingo. Yeah. There's a variety of apps. Get them, explore them, try them. I believe I did the trial of Rosetta Stone because it's quite expensive, and so I had, I think, a 30-day trial or something to work with. As much as you can, explore the language, definitely. It is not a requirement, and I have to say...
Yes, it is.
No,
I'm not going to have it. It is a requirement
to start.
before you leave
To
if
start.
you haven't had any to
Yes.
start.
Yes, to start.
Yeah,
You don't have to be fluent. You don't have to take in German
I was
classes.
I wasn't.
But they do expect, if you're selected as a finalist, they're going to expect that you're going to start to
make an
initiate
effort.
learning and make an effort to start learning. And that should go without saying.
Because when you get to bond, you're split up into different levels of German schooling that you will go to. And so Austin and I were in Deutsch A, which was the beginning. We knew Hallo, Scheisse, Gingerly, and that was probably I probably didn't even have that going into it. But then there were, conversationalists that could do that in German, and so you have that, what they're going to cater to you, and so don't be afraid of that.
Yeah, they'll
that's what
divide
you're
you
worried
up
about.
based on level.
Yeah.
You'll have your language training from early in the morning until midday, early afternoon, and then that's when the sort of 25 of you will have excursions and do other things and explore the city and get to know Germany.
Yeah.
One point that I don't think we hit in this group session yet was educational credit. You won't be receiving any college credits. High school is not actually being graded, no credits for that. However, I don't think there's really been anybody who's come home, and they really do stress, when you come home, go take the CLEP, take the language exam, and personally, I came home, I went to DePaul University. I was a transfer student. I only had 2 years left. I had to get everything I needed in to fulfill my degree in that 2 years. So I did test out of German. I tested out of the highest level of German, so I would have gone straight into the absolute top level courses. No more language course, actual courses taught in German. And in fact, I would have only needed one additional class. I would have only had to have taken one class to get a German minor. I didn't. I don't regret it, because doing what I did allowed me to finish my full bachelor's degree in the 2 years, and it prevented me from having to spend an entire extra semester paying for and attending college, and that was invaluable. Yeah.
Yes, the students do get the credit for their language. That's tangible.
Yeah.
And because you don't get, you're not at a college, so there's no credits to be transferred. So take advantage of the language when you get back, even though you may never want to be thinking of having a major in German or even a minor in German. If you can get you through college a lot quicker and with less money. So that's one of the advantages.
Any more questions before we move on?
Yeah.
Sure.
For the gymnasium, do you pick the classes you want to take there, or do they pick classes that they think you will?
So I was able to pick some of the classes. I took philosophy. I took an English class, which is really interesting. Math and all this kind of thing. But I think you had a different.
I almost got away with taking girls volleyball, but in the end, no. I took a kind of a eclectic blend of different courses.
Yeah, but don't worry,
including
you won't
that
be graded.
fifth grade level German.
Yeah, I think they gave me a course schedule when I got there. They kind of had me already placed in classes, and then as I was going, one of them was a math class, and I was like, could I get in with some of the younger students?
Yeah.
Math is fine, but I was like, I really need to work on my German. So I actually went into a third grade level class, and they were teaching the class in English, and so they were kind of putting me in that class, and it was super cool because I didn't get they had kindergarten experience, which is so amazing, but I had all these little third graders that were kind of poking fun at me and teaching me words and trying to get me to say words. So there's definitely flexibility there.
Yeah.
I don't want to assume, but I'm guessing all the classes are taught in German, right?
Yeah, primarily, absolutely, yeah. And did you have a question?
Oh, yeah. Are you talking to me? Okay. It's just regarding extracurriculars at the gymnasium. I had read somewhere that someone walked down the street and they found cello lessons and they had never played before, and then someone else joined the swimming team. So I don't know if any of you have had that experience, just taking a little bit more skills with that school. And,
to answer your question, we've had kids do swim teams, soccer teams, really get involved, and that's something that's really cool about the gymnasium. After leaving the 24 participants that you enter Germany with, you kind of have this opportunity to still be around students your age, and this gives you, that opportunity to get plugged into soccer or things that you would have been plugged into maybe at home. And so, we definitely have that, and we encourage it, get involved,
Yes, very
Do
important
that.
to get involved, but it's not through the schools in most
the
cases. It's clubs.
Clubs and things like that.
Germany has great clubs in general.
Yeah.
It's not, we typically go directly through schools, but there'll be a soccer club in the town. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh, gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Regarding the host families, you had mentioned that they weren't paid.
Yes.
No,
So
correct.
would it be considered appropriate or whatnot to basically offer to pay for groceries or something like that, or is that considered obligatory?
You could definitely do gifts. That was something that my my natural family did. They
Presents.
Yeah.
Presents.
Oh,
Presents.
presents. Sorry, I brought a lot of presents, and that is something that's suggested as well, and that helps you bond with the family as well. But
Taking the family out for a meal now and then would be better.
That would be cool.
If there's anything you particularly want that the family wouldn't normally buy, you can always pick up your favorite cereal or something along that line. But otherwise, and if you're out, your lunches you might have to be paying for. You can always offer that kind of thing, but it's not obligatory whatsoever. They can be empty nesters, which I personally think make some of the very best host families. They may have young children. They may have children the same age, teenagers. They may have a son or a daughter who is in the United States for the year. And so they're kind of paying back. Their child's gone, so they're taking one in. So how they are selected, sometimes they come through advertisements that might be in the local paper about Ginger Lee is coming and she likes this and that, and they think, oh wow, neat, we have a chance to have an American that likes snowboarding or whatever. Others would be families that they've known for a long time, and they could be friends with, but at least they know of. They've been past host families. And so this, how they are selected, I don't have a real answer for that. Now, how they are vetted is something else. They all have to have the host family visit, and so the housing is looked at very carefully. we're looking for cleanliness, of course, and a safe environment. The students have their own bedrooms. I don't think anybody's shared a bedroom because they are a young adult at this point, you know. And they don't have a background check as we do in the United States. Our country is the only one that is set up to run background checks. I don't know what that says about our country, but the vetting, they're known. The families are known. They're usually in communities where people are known, and
the area reps live in the area that
Yeah.
the families live in as well. So oftentimes they personally know them
yes,
too.
person
Yeah.
through their own networking, and as I said, sometimes they're personal acquaintances. So they're they're vetted in that way, and then they are, of course, the monthly contacts. They are contacted monthly.